you didn't, you wouldn't cared about how she felt. And the other thing is, you wouldn't be in here talking to me for the second time either.
Yeah.
You could have went into any other room that you wanted to, but you came into this one.
And I really do think that there's. I've heard a lot of, like you said, the archaeological, historical proofs, and I'll be honest, a lot of them haven't been convincing of me that that the extraordinary miracles of the Bible have happened. The historicity of there being a man named Jesus, but I really don't know if anything like that is going. I really think that whatever it's going to be, it's going to have to be something.
Well, understand
I feel
this.
a personal experience,
and if you truly want that, keep asking for it. Don't give up. Keep asking for it. But don't ask me, and don't ask your girlfriend, don't ask anybody else. Ask him. Ask him for it. Ask him to change your heart. Ask him to invade your mind. That's how it works.
When you phrase it like that, it sounds invading my mind sounds a little less appealing.
Well, let me ask you this: do you want to hear his voice?
I would very much enjoy.
Well, that's where you're going to hear it in your mind. That's exactly where you're going to hear it, and you're going to, and it's not mistakable. You'll know it's him. When he speaks, you know it's him. There ain't no ifs, buts, and ors about it. It ain't just a figment of your imagination. You know that it's him speaking.
That's another worry that
he says. My sheep. He said, "My sheep know my voice."
You're brave.
That's another worry I've had. Is if there is a sign, if there is some change or something like that, is it something that maybe I just haven't been tuned in enough to notice? Is it something that I've mistaken for something else?
It's a possibility. It's absolute possibility. At least, look, you're weighing all the factors. You understand what I'm saying? You're weighing the balances. And it's not that you don't want to believe. You're actually seeking to understand. And that's exactly what God wants you to do. But see, also like this right here, like I said before, it's in his time.
With that scale, I'm putting different weights on the scale, weighing things out, and I always feel like I end up in a deficit of belief where I find more reasons not to believe than to believe. And what I really wish would just happen, would be an almighty hand comes crashing down on the scale and tips it so much in one way that it's unmistakable for any kind of deficit.
Well,
it doesn't look even. It doesn't look misty or like
let me put it
or anything like that.
Let me put it to you like this, brother. Be careful what you ask for because you might just get it. And you want me to tell you something? It can happen to the point to where it scared the hell out of you. You understand me? That's what happened to me. You're looking at somebody at one time who could care less about religion or about God and didn't live my life in the way that I should have, and somewhat felt a little bit like you did. You know, I had a feeling that there was something there, but I really wasn't worried about it. Wasn't looking into it. Until life hit me so hard to where I asked a question. I knew I was dying. I knew that if I died, I'd probably go to hell. If this hell thing that people were talking about was real, then I would bust it wide open. And I didn't want to. But then I did something that even I don't understand. I called out to God. I'm like, look, if you're real, Lord, come into my heart, change me, make me something new. Don't let me live this life the way I've been living it. And if you do this, then I will dedicate my life to you, and I'll do whatever you call me to do. And like I said, you better be careful what you ask for, because he took this old drug addict biker and he turned me into a pastor, and now I preach the gospel. I go into the world and I tell people about Jesus Christ, his love and his mercy. Not only did he save my soul, he changed my whole life. The way I talk, the way I walk, the way I look, the way I hear. all of this stuff changed.
Hey, Meg.
Man.
I do kind of want it to come crashing down because I do worry about myself being mistaken about signs that I look at. But I just my girlfriend doesn't ask me like she doesn't bring up religion a whole lot because she knows where I stand. But when I see the look in her eyes, it seems like watching her go to a well, hoping to pull water out and coming out dry every time. And I just hate seeing that look in her eyes every time.
Well, see, that right there tells me right there that you have a little bit more than you actually realize you have. So yeah, keep asking God to just hit you with a sledgehammer, dude. Ask him.
I want to suggest something too, Lou.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Rabbit, have you ever seen this movie called The Case for Christ?
I don't think I have.
You should watch it.
I suggest you and your wife have a movie night one of these days and watch The Case for Christ. You can find it free on YouTube or whatever, but yeah, it's by Lee Strobel.
I'll definitely look into that. Sounds like something
it's a true story, and it's you both will probably enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a powerful story, and it's about somebody who was kind of like you.
Well, it's about an atheist, but
yeah, but he's an atheist. And, I'm not going to call you an atheist because I don't think that you're an atheist. I think that you are a non-believer who don't know the answers. But, yeah, go check out that movie. I think it would be a powerful thing for you. And,
we're always looking for stuff to do. So even, I'm sure it's a good movie even otherwise, but I'm definitely open to it and whatever messages it can give me.
The other thing, just like I told you last time, I'm going to tell you this again. Open up that Bible, dude, and read that Bible. That's the key right there.
I'm just finishing up another semester in college, and on one hand, it feels like I'm so busy, but then I think about it, and I'm like, well, if this, if there actually is God out there, if there actually is heaven and hell, it's hard. On one hand, the part of me that doesn't believe is like, well, I have to study. I got to do all these other things to make sure that I can finish college. But also part of me is thinking, well, this is a pretty dang important thing to figure out.
Yeah, you know what? You want me to tell you something, brother? Let me put it to you like this right here. Your college education. Oh yes, it's something
it might
that
change your direction.
You need to work. But I'm also going to tell you this right here. Your college education ain't going to mean nothing to you when you die. It'll get you through this life, but guess what? That's all it's going to do for you. It ain't going to do anything for you when you die, when you leave this world.
I enjoy the field of work that I'm going into, but I'll be honest. Most of the reason I'm doing it is because growing up in a family that was relatively poor, being able to help out my mom and dad and provide a life for my girl. It's for me. It's to say it's all about money would make it sound a little bad, but it's about having the resources I need to provide for those people. Because really, those people are my whole world. They are the thing that, like.
How can you?
How I feel about them is how I think people would feel about
This is the reason why you have so much compassion in your heart, dude. Because you're not thinking about just yourself. You're thinking about your mom and your dad. You're thinking about your girlfriend. You're thinking about a whole lot of different other things besides just Mr. Rabbit. How can you have that kind of compassion and not realize that God has that same kind of compassion for you? That love that you have and that mercy and compassion you have for your family, God has that same kind of compassion for you. He wants you to have the best. He wants you to be successful. He wants you to see life for what it truly is. But he wants you to see it through a clear set of eyes and an understanding that if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have it in the first place.
I mean, it really does mirror a lot of the ways that I feel about my family. And my sister just had a kid and already had, and I love those kids to death. And that same way, I want the best for them. I want to have a relationship with them. I want them to have the world. I want to, if anything
what?
I have to give them, I'd love to give them.
Do you know God gives you a promise when it comes to your life? He said that when you find Him and when you understand who He is, that He's going to give you life, and He's going to give it to you more abundantly. So what you think you have now, He's going to give it to you even in a greater measure. Yeah, and you want me to tell you something? I know that to be a fact. Understand something. I'm not your typical preacher. I'm not like every other preacher. That I don't stand behind the pulpit every Sunday morning, and the first thing I do is say, "Let's pray," and pass around an offering plate. I don't do that. I don't get paid to preach the gospel. I refuse to be paid to preach the gospel because I just don't think preachers are supposed to be paid to preach. God supplies me with what I need. Absolutely.
That's something that's hard to imagine because I already feel like
How do we know that God is real?
How do we know? Well, it's a personal.
Yes, sir.
It's a personal experience. It's just like I've been telling him. It's a personal experience. I can sit here all day long and tell you God is real, but until you experience Him, you're never going to know that.
And that's the thing. I don't know if all these physical, historical,
What city
scientific
you live in?
evidences.
What city does you live in?
What city does who live in?
What? Well, he's just trying to.
Me? I live in Trinity, North Carolina.
Live in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah.
But like
Amarillo, Texas.
Was confused.
Doesn't matter.
I already feel like my life is very abundant, and I on that question of like how do we know God? I think if there was some physical, scientific, like provable way to prove God, I feel like someone would have presented it. Like I feel like that it'd be.
It's all around you, though.
But think about this right here.
For me, it's going to have to be personal.
Have you ever heard of what is that guy's name who found the Ark of the Covenant? His name was Ron something other, wasn't it? Ron.
This is the place that starts with the P.
Was it Ron Wyatt?
Ron
Wyatt?
I don't know.
Site or something like that.
I think his name was. I think his name was. No, in Israel. In Israel.
Okay,
his name was Ron Wyatt.
Turkey, which
but look, this one was found in Israel, and I think it was Ron Wyatt was his name. And he found blood on this thing, and he had the blood tested. And this is a fact that this has been proven that it happened. The blood had DNA in it, but it had something that was different. It was very strange because
it was DNA.
Yeah, the human body, the human male or female has, 40 some chromosomes?
46, I think.
46 like chromosomes.
Yeah, because it's 23 and me.
20 and and this one had 24, and it only had one male chromosome. And that was the identifying factor that it was a male.
Well,
person.
if you're
but
going
this,
out,
let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay, all right, go ahead. And
but that one male chromosome proved the fact that it was a male. The person was a male that blood came from, but he had no male DNA besides that one chromosome, which was 24 chromosomes was all in the blood. Now that explains something. That this was a human being, it was human blood, proven to be human blood, but it had the DNA of the woman, but it only had one chromosome from the man. And that one chromosome was not enough to create a male. But it was proven that it was male blood. Now, who could that have been?
you said that this was found on
Your dad.
the Ark?
Yeah, on the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, the Ark
And
of
see-
the Covenant. Okay, I thought you were talking about Noah's Ark.
Yeah. No, the Ark of the Covenant.
But I was fixing to say,
That's
I thought
not
it was Noah's Ark.
necessarily what they found was not necessarily the Ark of the Covenant.
No, I'm talking about the blood. I'm not talking. I haven't
about the
seen it.
blood.
You haven't seen it. I'm just talking about the blood that they found and the way they found it.
They found some blood on
Whenever they found it, it was right up underneath where Jesus was crucified, where it was factual that he was crucified on this mountain, the skull.
But that's not where the Ark landed. The Ark didn't land where Jesus was crucified.
I'm not talking about the Ark of Moses, Noah. I'm talking about the Ark of the Covenant. Whole different thing. Do you know what the Ark of the Covenant is? I'm not talking about Noah's Ark. I'm talking about the Ark of the Covenant.
Enlighten me.
But anyway,
explain to me, because I obviously don't know, so explain to me.
Okay, I will in a minute, but let me finish this.
Didn't it hold the 10 Commandments?
Yes, and the manna from heaven and the staff that Aaron carried. But look, this is the thing. When the blood ran off of the cross, it ran down through a crack, and it landed on the top of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and that makes perfectly good sense, because whenever they did sacrifices in the Old Testament, guess where the blood had to go?
I'm not.
It had to be sprinkled on the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like a donut.
No. I mean, if you're not going to be serious, be quiet, please. But they had to. Whenever you were in the Old Testament, when they had to do a sacrificial situation, they had to sprinkle the blood on the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. So that makes perfectly good sense that the blood would fall on the Ark of the Covenant, which where he found it. But this is the thing. Where it was found was right up underneath where Jesus was crucified. And there was a crack.
You're telling me you believe in fairy tales?
Oh, Lord. I'm telling you,
Lou,
I believe in the Bible. And I'm telling you, be quiet or I'm going to have you removed from the room.
Quit.
Lou,
Last
I think
time-
you might
I was
just
like,
want
quit
to
interrupting this man and let him speak. Let him speak.
I think you may want to click his name and just mute him.
Yeah.
Or block
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Might
I
be
just blocked
the
him.
best way to
Sorry,
do
he
that.
did. Yeah.
My thing is
Lou.
this. My thing is this, is that there's a lot of historical proof. There's a lot of physical proof. There's a lot of scientific proof. But the only proof that you need is a encounter with God yourself. No matter how much physical proof, how much historical proof, no matter how much scientific proof, but you need to have a personal encounter with God yourself.
I think
That's what you're needing. That's what you're needing. It's not the fact that you have to seek all these things. What you're wanting more than anything is to have a personal encounter with God yourself. So keep asking for it. Keep asking
I would
for
agree
it.
with that, because like I've looked at it was the Noah's Ark that was found in like Turkey. Like looked into that
Yeah.
because people were
Mount
saying like,
Ararat.
oh, that. And then turns
it
out
wasn't
that
Noah's Ark.
there
That
was-
was not
yeah,
Noah's Ark.
it
Yeah,
feels
it was.
like
They have actual proof that was Noah's Ark. They got actual proof that it was. They've
not
done it in.
scientific proof. They don't
Yes,
have
they do.
Yeah, they
yes,
do.
they do.
Yes,
Yes,
they
they
do.
do. Yes, they do.
So this is the case.
No,
Is
they actually
on
don't.
my scales. Every time I find an example like this, there
Well,
always seems to
no.
be, well, maybe it was real. Put a weight over here, but also there's some evidence that maybe this person made this up. Put a weight over here, and the weights
Yeah.
always end up a little bit in the deficit. I'm
The
always
word.
Right.
it always seems a bit more. So I think you're right that
Come on,
personal
man.
experience.
I'm behind you.
That personal experience is what you need to have, Mr. Rabbit. And you know,
I'm
because,
open
because
to physical.
I'm
things,
recording.
but
Mhm.
Been recording
at
for a
this
while
point,
now.
I just don't know if I think a
Oh, I was like, I
physical
thought that was
thing
you
will
over
actually
there.
Right.
ever be convincing.
I was
Because I
down
think
there
if it
with
was, I think
Mac
everyone
down
would
there.
We were
be.
down there.
There's a
Yeah,
guy with
Christian.
a
everybody
shirt.
has. Look,
Somebody-
everybody has
Wasn't
different
me.
experiences. Everybody can hear all kind of things, and You can go through all kind of emotions, but until you have that personal encounter with God yourself, that's what's going to convince you of all of it in the first place. So keep asking for that personal encounter. We're going to pray that God will have that personal encounter with you. We're not going to give up on it ourselves. All of us that are in here that I know for a fact, like Unashamed, Mark Rogue Mission, Uberboy, Jerricade, all of you that are Christians, I want you to pray that God will personally come and give him that experience that he wants.
Even though I'm not Christian yet, I'm definitely going. I will be praying with you that.
Well, and that's just it. It's not. You know, the thing about it is, it's when you say that, you know, even though I'm not Christian, doesn't mean that you don't want to be. That's the thing. That's the difference. You're seeking, and God says, if you seek, you will find. If you truly seek, and you're going to find. If you're hungry, He's going to show up, and He's going to answer what you're looking for.
Hey, Mr. Rabbit, can I tell you something? All right, don't make a decision until you know the data. I mean, that's you know. Yeah. And I grew up a Christian, and in my adult life, I was a Christian, but I didn't make a decision until I read the Word. So you can't, you know, it's the same thing I told my son. My son's coming up in age. I told him, I said, you can't make a decision until you read the Word and then make a decision for yourself. And I've read the Word and I've studied the Word and I made a decision, you know, for myself. But that doesn't mean that my decision is the right decision, but study it. Study it. I tell everybody, study it. And then make your own decision.
Can I ask you a question, Corn Dog, and put you on the spot and not make you mad?
Absolutely.
How can you say that you've studied the Word, but yet you don't know what the Ark of the Covenant is?
Well, I do know what the Ark of the Covenant is.
Okay, what is it?
I grew up in that. I grew up in a church, man. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church.
What is the Ark of the Covenant? What is the Ark of the Covenant?
And well, the Ark of the Covenant, that was the vessel that held the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, but where was it located?
You know, I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, you can prove.
I mean, I have
prove
to
that
say,
you know more than
knowledge
me.
of the Ark of the Covenant.
But see, this is the reason.
Well, no, hang on.
No, wait a minute. Let me say something.
Hang on, Lou, hang on. You can prove that you know more than me, and that's fine.
No. That ain't got nothing.
That's not the way that religion works.
No. It ain't got nothing to do with religion. The Bible tells us to study to show. The Bible tells us
Ark of the Covenant doesn't have nothing to do with religion. Hang on.
Look, I'm not going to argue. You've been drinking, for one thing.
Yeah.
And one thing else, too, I'm not going to argue you about God and about the Bible when I know you're under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
And I know you've been drinking because I can hear it in your voice, so I know that you've been drinking.
For sure.
Who fucking cares?
Hey.
There you go.
Thank
And, and understand something. I'm not trying to prove that I know more than anybody else, but I also will tell you this right here. Don't talk about something you don't know nothing about.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, that's
because it makes you sound foolish. It really does. It makes you sound foolish.
Plus,
and the thing,
what I try to go by is which is why I don't want to. Which goes back because I'm gonna have to be getting off here soon.
Yeah.
But
if more people were more cordial as you are, Mr. Rabbit, it would be different. You know, you're not coming out here saying I know everything. All you're saying is I want to know the truth. That's totally different than saying, well, I study. Look, I'm going to tell you something. If you come at me, I want y'all to understand this right here. I'm not trying to make anybody seem like they're less knowledgeable than I am, because you know what? There's probably a lot of people out here that are very much more knowledgeable than I am. But I'm going to put it to you like this right here. When it comes to God's Word, I study to show myself approved. I can tell you what the Ark of the Covenant was. I can tell you how it was created, when it was created, where it was created, and who created it. I can also tell you what kind of temple it was in, how the temple was built, how it was laid out, who laid it out, and why it was made the way it was made. And you know how I know this? Because I study my Bible from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation. And it's not because I want to think that I know anything better than this, but I want a relationship with God that is absolutely strong. And for me to know who God is for me to know who God is. And there's only one way I can do that besides prayer and fasting and seeking Him in all of these things. It's also by seeking Him in His Word. That's how it works.
And to go with, I think Corndog, I think that was good advice of read the Bible before.
Exactly, it is. It is.
But
I've told you that twice now.
Yeah, since going back to my original thing though, and I these are all great steps to help me search for what I'm hoping to find. But in the meantime, in the space between, are there any words of advice or comfort that I can give to my girlfriend to make her not feel as...
Just tell her that, be honest with her, Mr. Rabbit. Tell her that you love her, if you do love her. Tell her that it's not that you don't want to know, that you're trying to figure it out, and that you're seeking it on your own. And I think that would give her more comfort than you think, that you're not just absolutely blowing it off, that you know, you're going to go through the rest of your life never believing that you're honestly, truly trying to find the truth. I think that might give her some comfort. Be honest with her, like you are with me, and what you're telling me. Tell her the same thing.
I appreciate that advice.
That you're looking. That's the best way to do it. Always be honest and truthful with the people that you're talking to.
That's my policy. That's why if it was a different if I had a different policy, I might be willing to go ahead and lie to her to save her the comfort. But
no, don't do that.
I think being honest with her is more important than the comfort. But I think if being honest in the same way that I've been talking to you, I think, and I have told her before that I am not, like you said, an atheist in the terms that most
think
people
about this, Mr. Rabbit.
are.
Think about this, Mr. Rabbit. Let her know that you come out here on this Oculus and you talk to a pastor, and this will be the second time you and I have had a lengthy conversation about these things, and that you are truly seeking for the truth, and you know, that'll give her some comfort. I believe it will honestly give her some comfort, and you know, like I said, just be honest about it.
I really appreciate that.
That's where I think we a lot of us fail constantly, is the fact that we try to be something that we're not. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not going to sit out here and tell you guys that I'm absolutely without sin, because I'd be lying to myself and you too.
Pray and ask God when you go to bed, and in a little bit, ask God to remove this burden from her heart.
Yeah.
Sincerely ask God to remove this burden from our heart and watch God move.
And then with yourself, truly, honestly, ask God to open your eyes.
It really is heartbreaking, because we'll go to church, and the preacher, he has different messages, but occasionally he will touch on the fact of people who are not saved yet, and it's always during those services that she has cried. She's
turn it down through YouTube.
Went up to the altar, knelt at the altar, and cried, and I can't help but feel partially responsible for some of those tears cried on the altar.
You know what? Those are tears of mercy that she's crying. So, you know, understand something. If a person really cares about you, if they really, really, really love you, they don't want to see you go to hell. So be glad that she is crying those tears for you.
It's one of the more than any Christmas present or date or anything like that. That's one of the things that really cements in my mind that I'm with someone who really does want the best for me.
Exactly, and that's exactly it. And so does God. God wants the best for you too, Mr. Rabbit. He really does. So, like I said, just keep seeking Him, bro.
God's there for you, buddy. God is there for you, buddy.
And He will answer. He will answer what you want Him to answer when the time comes. But just keep asking Him. I think that sometimes
I appreciate this conversation, and like I
you're
told
welcome.
you before in our last conversation, like if I had that, if I get hit over the head with a sledgehammer, like I kind of hope, like I will definitely be coming on here, and I will be spreading the word that I'm a changed man when that happens.
We look forward to seeing you again.
But
you're
like I said,
on here, you will know.
Well, I'll be here till the Lord takes me home. Is all I can tell you. Or the batteries on this thing quit working.
Never be scared to talk.
You know what I'm saying? But always remember, anytime you need me, brother, I'm out here. Come find me. I'm out here somewhere. If you can't get in touch with me, one of these guys can. And there's some other good people here for you to talk to, too, like Uber Boy and Mark and Unashamed, Barricade. And even that young man right there, MacGyver. He might be a young kid, but I'm telling you right now, he's got a lot of love in his heart for the Lord. That's the key right there. But understand that you surround yourself with the people that can give you the right advice. That's the best way to do it. And like I said, like I told you when we first started talking, I'm not going to candy coat it for you. I'm not going to give you what you think you need to hear. I'm going to tell you what you exactly need to hear. And I'm just going to tell you like it is, Mr. Rabbit. Always think about this fact that life ends. It begins and it ends. The Bible says it's appointed.
Life is finite. Life is finite.